New York Giants fans, it's Good Friday. And since it's Good Friday, why not spread some good? Why not talk about some positives? But unfortunately, before we can get to the positives, we got to talk about the negatives. I'm Coach Gene Clemons, and I definitely have a giant issue. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of A Giant Issue. I am Coach Gene Clemons, New York Giants on that side. That's where you get all of your New York Giants news and information. And make sure that you go over there. There's been a lot of content. Things about the draft, things about mock drafts, about who should take what, about deep sleepers, about the history of drafts, all the types of content that you're going to want around this time of year as we move into draft week, right? We are, from this point on, we're less than a week away from knowing who the number 3 pick is, or if the New York Giants even actually pick at number 3, right? And so it's a great time to go over there and check out everything that we're doing at New York Giants on SI, PT, and the entire squad over there. Everybody does a great job. Make sure that you come over here, hit that subscribe button. We're still trying to get to our goal, right? We're still trying to get to, or I'm still trying to get to. I don't want to put it on anyone else. I'm still trying to get to the goal of 3,000 subscribers. We're at 2512 as we speak. If you would like to get us to 3,000 before next Thursday, or this Thursday coming up, that would be fantastic, because that means that we're at our goal of getting to 3,000 before we hit the draft. If not, it's okay. We'll get to 3,000, but keep in mind that ultimate goal, 5,000, by the time we get to the end of the summer and the first game of the New York Giants 2025 season. So I had written some time ago now, a few days ago on X, I had written that there are a ton of Giants 100 content creators that are praying that Sanders is not good in the league. I was referring to Shedeur Sanders. And I was saying that there's a lot of content creators who have been highly critical of Shedeur Sanders, to the point that if Shedeur Sanders is good in the league, because the way they talk about him, I find it hard to believe that they think he can be good. Don't tell me I hope that he's good, or I'm wishing that he's good, or I'm hoping that he's good, but every single thing you say about him is negative, right? So if all that you say about the person is negative, then how is it that you can be wishing positive on him? Because there are positives about his game. It's just that we don't really hear the people who don't like him talk about the positives. They only harp on the negatives. So I said that there are a ton of Giants 100 content creators that are praying that Sanders is not good in the league. And as a response, Dan Schneier, and I'm assuming I'm pronouncing his name right, I actually wouldn't care if I'm not, he decided to do what he's done on many occasions on things that I post. He decided to, instead of strike a conversation with me in, in the responses, he decided to retweet my post. And within it, he said the following: rant coming. And I want to make sure you guys can see this because it's a lot. Rant coming. It says, this is clown behavior and a contributor to the vitriol and negativity that floods the space. And for what? Just because people have different opinions than others. No, there aren't a ton of what Coach Gene describes, but there are a ton that don't see a ceiling for Sanders. They did their work, real work, like charting 8 games of all 22, including 2 from 2023. Real work. like evaluating hours of NFL QBs on all 22 over the last half dozen years to get an idea of how traits project. And after all that, those same tons of people, myself included, admit that our projection is incomplete. We don't get to meet with QB prospects. We don't know how they are on a whiteboard or how they project as processors pre and post snap, but we are allowed to project their upside based on physical traits. Since processing projections are far more pie in the sky, given one, how different the college rules are, and two, how different college offenses are. And our projections and ultimate opinions have nothing to do with hate or rooting players to fail. This is the same BS that people said those critiquing DJ's film/play were guilty of. No wonder there's so much negativity on this space. You won't catch me ever accusing anyone on here of rooting for players to fail, because that's a clown take and adds nothing of value to any conversation about anything football related. That is what Dan Schneier had to say about my one-line tweet. He had an entire soliloquy that he wanted to get off about my one-line tweet. I find this interesting because he talks about me being the person that is spreading negativity and vitriol. But I didn't say anything negative. I said that people would be hoping. Now, I've had some people respond in there and say, hey, they're probably hoping for him to fail the same way that you're hoping for him to succeed. Yes. Even if I don't like a prospect, I never hope for them to fail. I never hope for them to fail. I only hope for them to succeed. Right? But I also know that if you go through all of this time evaluating, if you consider yourself to be well-schooled, well-versed in this, then if you are that wrong, right? So wrong that you don't believe Shedeur Sanders can be successful in the NFL. So wrong that you think that college offenses are so different than NFL offenses, even though these NFL coaches keep stealing more and more stuff from the college game. So wrong that you can't see that the traits that a guy like Shedeur Sanders has are the same traits that people used to kill themselves over, used to jump over people in order to say, that's what I want in my quarterback. If you're so lame that you can't see, right? And you're wrong. If you go that hard against whether or not someone can be a good quarterback and you're wrong, you are going to have hella egg on your face. And because we have social media now, everybody's going to remind you of the fact that you're wrong every single day. You want to know how I know? That's what they did with Daniel Jones. I'm gonna give you how it played out. Daniel Jones wasn't good. He had one decent season, because all of you know I wasn't a Daniel Jones fan. He had one decent season. And everybody who said that Daniel Jones was going to be good in the league all of a sudden came out of the woodwork and lambasted everybody that said that he was going to be bad, said that he was no good, made it seem like they were all stupid and fools. And then when Daniel Jones wasn't good, guess what happened? The other side came out and let everybody know that they were stupid for thinking that Daniel Jones was good, that they were terrible for thinking that Daniel Jones is good, right? This is natural behavior. All I did was point out natural behavior of people who do that type of thing. I have been guilty of it in the past. Not to the level of rooting for people to be bad, but definitely when I point out that somebody had a difference of opinion than I did when it came to a player. And not for nothing, if Shedeur Sanders goes to the league and does what I believe he's going to do, which is be a really good quality quarterback in the NFL, I am going to remind you guys on a regular basis that I thought Shedeur Sanders was the dude in this draft and that the Giants should not have passed up on him. Yes, I'm going to do it. You want to know why? Because if I don't point out when I'm right, when I'm wrong, and you guys kill me, and when I say you guys, I just mean the world, right? Because I put my things out there for everybody to see. I put my opinions out there for everyone to see. When I'm wrong, I'm willing to take the arrows. I'm willing to say, hey, I was wrong on that. I remember when Dak Prescott came out, I said, I don't think Dak Prescott's going to be good. I don't think what he does at Mississippi State is going to be able to transition into the NFL. I don't see how he can have success. I was wrong. I had to eat that. I had to eat it. But when I told everybody that I could tell that Lamar Jackson was the number one quarterback in that draft, not Josh Allen, even though that's the only person y'all ever bring up. When y'all talk about the Giants missing on a quarterback that year, you bring up Josh Allen. You don't say anything about Lamar Jackson. You want to know why? Because everybody missed on Lamar Jackson. Even the Ravens missed on Lamar Jackson. They took a 25-year-old tight end instead of on Lamar Jackson. Right? So even though I banged the table and told every single body that Lamar Jackson was who he was, you want to know what those people who said that Lamar Jackson wasn't going to be a good quarterback, that he wasn't a good processor, you know what they all said? Oh, he just got better. He just consistently got better. Man, they've really done a whole lot to improve his mechanics. They did a whole lot to improve his processing. No, they didn't. All of these years later, Lamar Jackson throws the ball the exact same way that he threw the ball when he was in college. Lamar Jackson, his accuracy, his anticipation, all of it is very similar to what he did in college. In college, it got better every single year. In the NFL, it got better every single year. You know why? Because he got more and more comfortable. But nobody just wanted to come flat out and just say, hey, I was wrong. And there were people screaming from the high heavens, no on Lamar Jackson. There were people that when Lamar Jackson was up on the trading block because he had a non-exclusive tag, right? When people said, hey, would you give up multiple draft picks to get Lamar Jackson? This was a year, remember, this was the year after Daniel Jones. People were comparing Daniel Jones to Lamar Jackson and saying that they are not that much different. Look at how 2 years later things feel so much different. And yet, people won't just admit, hey, I was wrong. They'll say, hey, this person got better or this person didn't live up to. They won't just say I was wrong. I'm willing to say I'm wrong. And so when somebody like Dan Schneier comes out here and makes it seem as if I'm the person that's spreading the negativity, that I'm the person that does this, while essentially putting out a post that is 1,000% all negative, it's laughable. And the more interesting part about it is what he says in this thing. And this is beef, ladies and gentlemen. I'll tell you, it's up forever with Dan Schneier for me. There's never going to be an amicable resolution to his and I relationship, and we don't even have one. He burnt that bridge before he ever had a chance to meet me in person. You know how many people I've met in person who says, man, I was so wrong about you based off what I saw or what you, right? And I'm not even like a click monster. I'm not somebody out here just saying things for clicks. I say things that I really feel. And it might be different than you, but that's okay. I respect your opinion. I expect your ability to be different. If Dan Schneier would have just said, hey, I don't agree with this at all. As someone who does not have Shedeur Sanders ranked high, I can tell you that I don't have any ill will towards him. I'm not wishing him to fail. I just don't think he will succeed. I would have respected that. But the moment he started saying clown behavior, right? And then did not want to say that this was all about him, because it was, right? Even though I don't know what Dan Schneier's opinion is on anything. I don't follow him. The only time my algorithm puts Dan Schneier stuff in front of my face is when he has gone out of his way to retweet something that I put to get his timeline popping with something controversial that he knows is going to go back and forth. That is what Dan Schneier uses me for every so often. I don't know why. He has infinitely more followers than I do on X. He has infinitely more followers than I do on X. His job isn't even like here. This isn't even where he makes the brunt of his bread at. He has a real job that has nothing to do with this, and yet he's more like he puts more emphasis on this and what he does in this space than he does on his real job. You want to know why? Because his real job, he's supposed to be behind the scenes. And I don't think Dan Schneier wants to be behind the scenes. I don't think Dan Schneier wants to be somebody that's not seen but impactful. He wants to be the person in front. But you have to have a foil for that. So, hey, Coach Gene, he's got just small enough of a following. He's got just small enough of a following that I could attack him and not worry about his followers coming back to attack me. The problem that Dan Schneier has is that my entire following, the people who follow me, are mostly in the industry. So while this popped off, people are hitting me in my DMs. Hey, yo, coach, what's going on? Hey, Gene, what's up with this dude? Not one, not two, not three, not four. And you want to know what's crazy about it? Several of them that work where he works. But when you're trying to call someone else negative and you're using disgusting negativity to point out their negativity, how are you doing anything possible? I mean, anything positive? So you know what Dan Schneier did? Instead of apologizing and saying, hey, I shouldn't have done that, I apologize. He just went and edited the tweet and then tried to move the goalpost as if I said something that I never said. I believe that there are people out there who do work in this space who have talked so recklessly bad about Shedeur Sanders that they are hoping that he is not good, because if he is good, then they are going to look bad. That is human nature, ladies and gentlemen. We have all fallen privy. We've all fallen victim to that at some point in time. Our human nature going, man, if this works out, I'm going to look bad. Right? We've all fallen privy until we become comfortable enough with ourselves that we don't care if we right or wrong. We're going to take what comes with it regardless. Once we do that, that's when we push all that other stuff away. You know how many people have said negative things about me and my takes that I just let brush off my back because I know what my heart is, I know what my mind says, and if I'm wrong, I'm willing to just say I'm wrong. So I'll say something like, we'll see. Hey, we'll see how it works out. When Daniel Jones came back after his good season, his one good season, I said, hey, if he can keep this continued, then they got something. I didn't come out and say, hey, they can't keep this continued, even though in my heart, I felt like that was an anomaly. I came out and I said, if they can. I tried to look at it from the positive, not from the negative. Guess what happens when I do that? I don't have to worry about what happens if it's positive. If it's positive, then I say, hey, it worked out great. Now all of you are happy that you got your quarterback. You're going to be able to engage in more. We can talk more about positivity. I already told you that's what's up. But the idea that I'm supposed to watch what I say because I'm worried about being attacked on Twitter by people just because they have a large following. Literally, this thing was up for probably 30 minutes, maybe an hour. 30 minutes, maybe an hour, had almost 10,000 views of him just kicking my back in. And why? Because hit dogs holler. Hit dogs holler. And this isn't just about Dan Schneier. This is about anybody who's like him. Hit dogs holler. When you say something that strikes the nerve of someone else, that's when they respond. That's when they respond. That's when they feel like, oh, well, let me defend everybody. This isn't about me. It's not about you, Dan Schneier. So if it's not about you, then why does it say there are a ton of the people who don't see a ceiling for seniors did their work, real work, like charting 8 games of all 22, including 2 from 2023. Real work. Why that specific if it's not about you, Dan Schneier? If it's not about you, how are you that specific? Who do you know who has a negative opinion of Shedeur Sanders' game that told you specifically that they watched 8 games and 2 of those 8 games came from 2023? Why are you telling me that those people, those anonymous people that are not you, Dan Schneier, have a half dozen years of doing this, of evaluating talent and traits and projects? Sometimes I really believe that you guys think that this coach thing that I say is like I made it up out of thin air, right? Because people always want to do goofy stuff like try to quote their resume to me or tell me that I'm not informed, that I'm not qualified. Like I don't have access to all 22 film. Like I haven't had access to all 22 college film for the better part of 20 years. Some of you just got around to the all 22. It's been around, ladies and gentlemen. You just didn't have access to it. Like this didn't just start for me. I didn't just start evaluating quarterbacks a half dozen years ago. I was coaching them. I was working with them. I was evaluating them. I was teaching them to do the very things that they are asked to do in the NFL. All the way from the youth level to college. I have worked with them. I have worked with them directly or indirectly. I have been the leader out in front who had to take responsibility when the team didn't do well. I have been the person behind the scenes who had to make sure I did everything in service of the head coach in order to make sure that things looked good so that he could prosper, so that the team could prosper, so that the players could prosper. I didn't just like stumble upon this. I didn't just show up one day. I've been in this industry. I've been the dichotomy between the athletic side and the journalism side. I had a byline in the Boston Globe when I was 22 years old. I had a byline in the Boston Globe when I was working for the Worcester Telegram and Gazette over the summer on an internship, when not one sports person at the Worcester Telegram and Gazette had a byline in the Boston Globe. That was over 20 years ago. Why would I care about 6? Why would I care that you've been doing this? Where's the proof? Where's your work so that everybody can see it? Why do I have to all of a sudden kowtow to somebody because they've got a bunch of Twitter followers, a bunch of X followers? That's not how I got down. My name on this app is @Gene Clemons. You want to know what happens when you have a first name, last name that's not like some outlandish first name, last name, and you're on Twitter as the first name, last name? That means you've been here since the beginning. I've been on Twitter since Twitter became Twitter, back when it had only a few little words that you could write and there were no pictures. There were no videos. I was on Twitter back when you had to be on Instagram to put your pictures out, you had to be on Twitter to put your words out, you had to be on Vine to put your videos out. And all of those were small little snippets. I've been here for a long time, and you know what? I never chased the followers. I prided myself on being the person where if you knew, you knew. That's to my detriment. That's me not understanding the game, right? That's me not understanding that now here in 2025, followers could mean money, could mean dollars. That's on me. I take that. But I take that and I say, my goal wasn't the same. My goal wasn't the same. If you know me, you know me. And now as my goals become, hey, let's build something, it's going to be done with the integrity that's necessary, but it's going to be done with letting you goofies know that you can't play with my name and that I'm not going to be intimidated, and you're not going to force me into hiding. You're not going to make me have to like sit back and not say the things that I feel because I'm worried about whether or not you might disagree with me in order to get your timeline popping with some type of animosity. If you like it, I love it. I'll dive right in. If you like it, I love it. I'll dive right in. But I won't be intimidated, and I let everybody know that I will see you in person at some point. If you are a Giants creator, this is a warning. Not even a warning. This is a promise. Everything that you say will be used against you. It will be when you're talking about Coach Gene. So if you have something to say and you want to go against me, you can do that. But we don't have to be disrespectful. We don't have to call what someone does clown behavior and say that they're spreading vitriol and negativity. We can just say, I disagree. I think this is totally wrong. I respect that. You don't have to agree with me on everything. The best thing I like about a Giant issue is when I go into the comments, everybody doesn't agree. Some people are like, hey, Clemons, you tripping. Coach Gene, you don't know what you're talking about. Some are disrespectful. And when they are, go and look. I have something negative to say back. We don't have to be like that. That is how you spread vitriol. That is how you spread negativity. But me saying that there are people who are praying that Shedeur Sanders fails does not mean that I said that they were going to do that publicly. I could have actually named names, Dan Schneier, who I now believe might be one of those people, but I didn't. I didn't name names. I could have. I didn't bring up old stuff, the things that people have written, and go, hey, look, tell me that this doesn't say that they're hoping that this person's not good. How could they not? There's so many great things happening, right? There's so many great things happening, but until there is the final, this is what it's going to be when it comes to the quarterback position, we won't be able to enjoy them. The Giants made a bunch of defensive line moves that gave them the versatility to not have to go defensive line in the first round. They made defensive back moves to give them the versatility so they did not have to go defensive back in the first round. In fact, when you add up all of their moves, the only thing that they have to address in the first round is their future quarterback. Everything else on the team has a future to it. They have future D linemen, right? They have future defensive linemen. They have future edge rushers. They have future linebackers. They have future defensive backs. They have future wide receivers. They have a future running back. They have future offensive linemen. The only thing that they don't have is a future quarterback. which means that while everybody was hoping that they took best player available, the Giants actually went about the business of making sure that they could take best player available, that they didn't have to reach. They did that when they added 2 veteran quarterbacks, both who can win games in this league. Except only one of them got talked about positively. The other one, oh, he turns the ball over. He never won anything. He doesn't win. He's lost all of these games since he blah, 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 blah. You want to know how dangerous Jameis Winston was? Jameis Winston was so dangerous, right, that Derek Carr refused to sit down when he was injured because he was afraid that if he let Jameis Winston back on the field, he would never get his job back. So he played injured all year long to the detriment of the Saints while Jameis Winston sat on the bench. You want to know how dangerous Jameis Winston is? If you take away one game where he threw 1 billion interceptions, go look at his touchdown to interception ratio in Cleveland. Just take that one game where he threw a ton of interceptions away. Go look at his touchdown to interception ratio in Cleveland. Jameis Winston was so good that he revived Jerry Jeudy from the dead. And now with him gone, everybody thinks that they need more wide receiver help. Nobody was saying that they needed wide receiver help when Jameis Winston was at quarterback. And yet the only thing we hear is he turns the ball over too much. He hasn't won games. But then when you tell them, hey, all Shedeur Sanders does is win games, well, now winning is not a quarterback stat. We're just going to keep moving the goalposts to fit whatever the narrative is that we want to fit. And we've all been guilty of it. I'm just seem to be the only one willing to come out and admit it. There's a lot of good things happening on this Good Friday. We're going to talk about them more. I'll be here all week. I'm going to be live next week after every round of the draft. I will go live, a Giant Issue live. I will be live giving you all the reactions to everything that happened on the spot. You're not going to want to miss it. Stay with me until then. Back to back shows all the way through. Back to back shows all the way through the draft. You're not going to want to miss it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's another episode of A Giant Issue. I'm Coach Gene Clemons, New York Giants on SI. Make sure you go over there, see everything I'm doing over there, see everything everybody's doing over there. It's fantastic. Hit the subscribe button if you like me. Hit the subscribe button if you don't. If you just want to see what crazy thing I'm going to say next. Yo, this man just went off on Dan Schneier for 30 minutes straight. I didn't really go off on Dan Schneier for 30 minutes straight. I went off on people like Dan Schneier. But I'm not afraid to put his name to it because I don't like him. And if I see him in person, it's up. I'm not saying I'm going to punch him in the face because that's crazy. I'm saying that if he said something really goofy in person, that he would be in violation, right? But there's never going to be a buddy thing with me and him. Not ever. I don't want him at the karaoke spot when I'm trying to sing. Not at all. Make sure that you check us out. Hit the subscribe button. It goes down over here. I appreciate everything all of you do. Come in, hang out, go to the comments. Tell me what you think. Tell me if you think I'm wrong. Tell me if you think I'm right. If you think I'm right, just be like, okay, coach. If you think I'm wrong, tell me why. Like, give me a legitimate reason why you think I'm wrong. I'd love to hear it. And until next time, I'm Coach Gene Clemons. I have a Giant Issue.